G'day, welcome. This is a brief demonstration of some of the ways information about biographies and bibliographies of engineers are being added in the Encyclopedia of Australian Science. The Encyclopedia of Australian Science has been developed by the E-Scholarship Research Centre. This has ceased to exist, and hopefully the Encyclopedia of Australian Science will be hosted by other parties. So let's look at a quick demonstration of being able to look at the web itself. So I'll just share the browser. The Encyclopedia of Australian Science was started off as the Australian Science Archives project, which had its beginnings back in 1985. And when the web was established in the early 1990s, it became a web version. The Encyclopedia of Australian Science, if we look at its homepage, we can see there's an About, a Search and a Browse section, and we can find people, find organisations, find archives, find publications. In the About section, if we link here, it goes to the About page, and we can see more about the Encyclopedia of Australian Science and its history. If we go into Browse, this is an interesting way of seeing the data. We can browse through people, organisations, descriptions, images, bibliographies, archive collections, and also we have exhibitions. For example, if we look at the exhibition of Australian eucalypts, this is a way of creating a portal into the information so we can see information about different topics and different subjects. So there's portals into the history of Australian chemistry, and ultimately we could have a portal into the history of Australian engineering. So if we just go back here, one of the other interesting things in Browse is a list of functions, and under functions, if we look down here to see if we could look down here to civil engineer, and under civil engineering we can see all the biographies of people that have been listed in the Encyclopedia of Australian Science who are also listed as being civil engineers. Now some of them may be listed as railway engineers, or environmental engineers or architects. So we can see the way in which they've been listed. If we clicked on electrical engineer, we can see this particular Francis Clement's entry. If we go back to the home page again, if we just go into home page, we can do simple searches. In this case, I'll just show you how we're handling some of the information. If we do a search on Curnow Medal, this comes up with the Curnow Memorial Medal entry that we've put in. At the beginning of most of these entries, we have a summary. We have details, in this case, details about the formation of the medal, any related bodies, and also related people. And here we can see the people in the Encyclopedia of Australian Science, and we've got a brief citation for when they were awarded the Curnow Medal. If we look at Burnell, here's a typical entry for a biography. We've got very little information about him here. We've got a summary of his vital statistics, when he was born and died, his occupation, some detailed events in his life, and a link to the medal entry, and also, in this case, some published resources. In this case, it's Matthew Churchwood's entry to the Australian Dictionary of Biography, and we could link to that online, or we can see the details that we've entered into the biography. If we go back to other entries in here, if we look at something more substantial like Bradfield's entry, we've got a summary, more details about him. Gradually, we're adding all the events in his life, and that also includes, you can see the link to the Curnow Medal. If we link down here, we can see all the archive resources where archive material related to Bradfield is stored. Look in the published sections, we can see the ADB entry, and again, a link to that. In edited books, we've got the Eminent Queensland Engineers, and this will I'll link to this one because it shows you the way in which we've been able to add details about engineers who don't have individual biographies, but we have information about them. So here in the abstract, we've listed all people who are entered in the biography, Queensland Eminent Engineers. And here, if we wish to, we can link to the online resource, and that will download, and we can actually see the digitised publication online. That's in the Institution of Engineers publication. If we go back, and let's go back to Bradfield's entry again. So that's an edited book. We've got journal articles which appear here. Here's a recent journal article that was in Engineering Heritage Australia. We've got the reference here, and all of these entries in Engineering Heritage Australia magazine are now added into the chronology of the history of Australian science by Helen Cone. If we look further down, we've got, apart from journal articles, we've got other resources. We've got the minutes of the proceedings of the Institution of Civil Engineers, and the details. This shows you all the obituaries that we've got listed and related to the Institution of Civil Engineers transactions. And if we link online, that will take us to the ICE obit for Bradfield. And if we wish to, we can open the PDF and see that as well. Go back to Bradfield's entry here. Other things we can see is that we have his entry in the History of Australian Science. We've got other articles and references to him. We've also, if we look at his entry in Wonders Never Cease, we can see the pages that he's listed on. And if we click on the details again, we can see the biographies in the Encyclopedia of Australian Science that we have that are also in this publication. So it gives us the ability to link biographies to bibliographies. If we look down here, we can also see, for example, the details of plaques, and here's the detail of the entry in the of all of the people and the related entries in the plaquing booklet. So again, it gives us ability to link people in it, and where we have related biographies, we can link those into the publication. So I think that basically covers everything I wanted to show you here. So basically that concludes the demonstration, showing some of the ways that we've been adding biographies and bibliographies into the Encyclopedia of Australian Science. So that basically concludes what I wanted to demonstrate. So basically, any questions? Thank you.